Hey everyone, I want to show you today how to make the easiest form of wax melts. I'm using soy wax, but you can use any wax. You will also need some silicone molds. I also put them in clamshells and in those little shot pots here. The wax, a kitchen scale, a heating container where you put the wax in, a heat source, how you melt the wax, the fragrance oil, I'm using baby powder, an infrared thermometer, and a heat gun to preheat your molds. I'm also using white mica. We don't need any dye or any glitter because these are the easiest wax melts to make. If you don't have mica, you can even make them without, then they are plain white. If you have it, it makes it a bit more shimmery and shiny and a little bit more like elegant, I guess. If you don't have it, that's alright, then yours are just plain white and they still smell as great as with mica. Okay, that's it, my water is already heating up over there, so I measure the wax first and then we melt it. I'm using soy wax flakes. This is 494 golden wax, but basically you can use any wax that's for molding. Just make sure when you buy it, either you use the links that I drop below. Make sure that you're using wax that's for molding or for wax melts. It's normally labeled. Make sure that you're not using container wax because these are harder to get out of the mold. They don't have a shiny finish and they're not as well, they're for a container and they're not for a mold. Alright, now let's start. Alright, first we measure the wax. I used 600 grams, 602 of wax, and I put that now in my melting container in my hot water over there, and we're melting that first. Step 1. Alright, if you can, if you have an option, have a window open or make sure you have some kind of ventilation. Alright, when your wax is melted, check the temperature. Mine is now 75 degrees. That's perfect for adding the mica and the fragrance oil. The mica you can add basically at any color, but you should make sure not to overheat the wax in the first place. You should melt it and then bring it up to like 80 degrees depending on the instructions of the wax that you're using. Just have a look. But 80 degrees is, I guess, normal, I guess, for soy. Add the mica. Very good. And then we add the fragrance oil. I'm using 10% of the weight of the wax. So that would be 60% fragrance, 60 grams fragrance oil. If you have a higher amount, like 60 grams, using a kitchen scale is easier. If you have a lower amount, if you only do like 2 milliliters, like 20 grams, and you only need 2 milliliters, I prefer to use a pipette. But if it goes, and then you measure in milliliters, but if you have more wax and you measure in grams, use a scale, and that's the easiest way. So I'm using 60 grams of fragrance oil. And then you stir it in for at least a minute. Give it to make sure that the oil really combines with the wax, so the fragrance is even and all the melts have the same amount of fragrance. Because 60 grams of fragrance oil is a bigger amount and it brings the heat down of the wax, what you can do to not get it too cold, you put it back in the heating source and the oven is off or whatever you're using, and just keep stirring, and that keeps the, I hope you can hear me properly, that keeps the temperature at a level that you can pour right up. Okay, my wax now is properly mixed, And because we're not using any glitter or color, we can start pouring. And because these are the easiest wax melts you can make, I use bigger clamshells. The pouring this way is much easier. You probably don't have any spilling because, well, they are big enough. And also the shot pots are really, they are much easier than if you do single melts, just because, you know, it's quicker and it's just the easiest way. Alright, so let's just pour it in the mold. Soy wax does not shrink as much as paraffin, so you should not have to double pour, which means to pour twice. You know, you do half and then you do the other half. Especially not if you pour at the recommended pouring temperature. You shouldn't have any problems at all. And you see how really easy it is to, you just fill it in, you know, like it's just filling like coffee in a coffee cup. I do one more and then I leave the rest for the single melt that we have over here. I preheat them with the heat gun just because the finish is nicer. They have a nicer shine and gloss, and they look just better when the molds are preheated. When they are not preheated at all, and you know, we live in Ireland, it's not that warm. The molds are a bit stiffer, which is not the problem, but as soon as the wax touches the mold, it hardens quicker, and the finish isn't that nice. So I preheat it with the gun, and then we pour in the single melts. In case the mold dries a little bit on the outside, on the inside, but on the walls of the container, you just give it a quick hit with the heat gun and it runs back down and it's all fine. And we'll see if I can do it without spilling any. There are tools you can buy. It's like a little funnel. And the handle controls the bottom where the wax comes out. I think it's for baking, really. I don't have that. I might get it at some point. I've seen other people use it and they were pretty happy with it. I can see that it works, that it's helpful, and then stuff like that doesn't happen. That's what I do when I overfill it. You just go with the dripper, with the pipette, and suck it back up. I guess that's how you say it. I don't really know. And that's already it. That took like 10 minutes including the heating. So, except for this one that's not fully heated, but fully filled, I will probably use that myself. Oh, maybe I can trick around here a bit. Whatever. Alright. Very cool. Alright, this was 600 grams. It filled 3 clamshells, 4 shot pots, and then a couple of single melts. As you see, it was really easy and quick to mix it together. There is no dye, there is no glitter or anything, just a little bit of white mica to make it look a bit more shimmery. And now we'll let it dry, and then we'll take them out and have a look. I leave the camera on while these are drying and fast forward it later in the video. Maybe it looks cool. If not, I just take it. Okay, we unmold these here now, most fun, and then we have a look. I think they look cool, they're shiny and everything. Only two here. Did something I never had before, honestly. When I took them out, and it's the same shape mold, so I think this is where it happened. They might not have been fully hardened, even though the other ones didn't have a problem at all. I honestly don't know what happened here. Just didn't unmold. It like crumbled, basically. But the other ones look pretty much perfect. You see, it's very easy to make wax melts if you don't use any dye or glitter or any other fancy stuff. Theoretically you don't need it because it's all about the scent, but you know, I mean, it looks nice when it's colorful and shimmery and stuff. Alright, I'll link everything I used below. You can check it out. If you like my wax melts and you don't want to make them yourself, you can buy them in my shop. The link is there as well. And I see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.